Paychecks are still a contentious issue for working women in this province. The latest StatsCan data reveals that Canadian women earn 87 cents an hour for every dollar made by men. And perhaps to add insult to injury, women continue to be vastly underrepresented in professional science jobs and private sector senior management positions. Jenny Gulamani-Abdulla is a Calgary-based immigration lawyer who spent years fighting to close that gap, and she's giving a talk over lunch today at the Hotel Saskatchewan in Regina. Jenny joins me first in the studio. Hi.
Hi there. Thank you.
So why are women still in 2017 making less than men?
Wow, it's just unbelievable. You take a look at this and you say we've been talking about this for such a long time. Everyone seems to be working on it, and somehow we just can't move past that gap. When women make 80 cents or less than 80 cents on the dollar, and you keep asking, how is it that we can't close the gender wage gap? There is no country in the world that has closed the gender wage
Who's
gap.
come closest? Do you know?
You know what? I think when you look at countries like Norway and Denmark,
they're always held up, aren't they, as examples? So what are they doing right?
You know what? I think it's about raising awareness on this issue. I think it comes down to looking at how we raise our girls. It's about looking at our workplaces. It's actually looking at who the stakeholders are. And I'm talking about leaders from government and civil society and businesses coming together on this.
So how do you look at this? I mean, I look at our workplace here, for instance, and a man and a woman hired into the same job would get paid the same because that's all done through collective bargaining. Do you look at it that way, or do you look at it as an average across the country? You know, when you look at average salaries with CBC, do you think that men are making more because they're in higher positions? How do you view that? How do you look at it?
So, of course, we have legislation on equal pay for equal work. Mm-hmm. And basically what that means is if a man or a woman is working in the same position for the same employer, they need to be paid the same. And everyone understands that. We already have this piece of legislation. We don't need to make this piece of legislation up. It's when we're looking at equity issues and we start to get into looking at pay for work of similar value. And
so
that's
give me a concrete example.
Yeah. So, for example, you have, let's say, a firefighter and a teacher. In that situation, if the work is viewed as that of similar value, based on skills and competencies, training, etc., you start to look at two different occupation titles, but their value is similar.
So do you think people confuse the two, pay equity and equal pay for equal work?
Oh, absolutely. Because across Canada, you see some provinces that have equal pay, pay equity legislation, because all of us have the equal pay for equal work legislation.
Is that working? Is the equal pay for equal work?
Even though we have that piece of legislation, it's a matter of being able to enforce it. So if we don't have all the stakeholders on the same page on this, even with that piece of legislation, we're not able to implement it or enforce it in the workplaces, making sure that it's actually working there.
Are there some workplaces or types of jobs that do better on this than others?
Absolutely. When you take a look at occupations like, for example, engineering, where, you have less females and it's a male-dominated industry, you see that the gender wage gap actually narrows. So you have, fewer women up there facing a gender wage gap that is sizable. So as the occupations get into categories where you need more education and more training, and they are dominated by men, those are the fields where the gender wage gap is actually less. But most of us who are, not engineers and doctors and, not in the STEM fields, most of the women are facing the gender wage gap in a sizable manner.
How do we do in Saskatchewan, do you know, compared to other parts of the country?
Yeah, so when you look at the stats from the Center for Policy Alternatives, you see that your province hovers between 63 and 73 cents on the dollar.
So we're worse.
Yes, we are. And so when you take a look at, for example, Regina sitting at 73 cents on the dollar, and you look at the numbers in Saskatoon at 63 cents on the dollar, you say that there is work to be done.
Yeah, so what does that work look like? What work has to be done? How do you go about getting there?
Well, I think, first of all, it has to do with looking at our workplaces. I mean, we always say that it's women that need to change, but it's also workplaces that need to change. And sometimes women don't even know that they're signing on contracts that tell them not to discuss their wages.
It's that whole polite thing. Polite people don't talk about money. Hey?
And this is an issue. We should make wages an acceptable subject of discussion in the workplaces, and employers have a big part to play. It's about looking at our promotion packages. It's about looking at our employment contracts so that they reflect today's modern workplaces.
The U.S. has one day of the year, Equal Pay Day, and you're looking to try to get Canada to recognize that day as well. Where's that at?
Yeah, right now we have Motion 70 placed on notice with MP Anita Vandenbeld. This motion basically, the text reads that March 18th should be declared Equal Pay Day across Canada. We've worked on this very aggressively over the last 5 years. The mayor of Selkirk, Manitoba, a very small town, declared Equal Pay Day. And, when you go to the United Nations during the Commission for Status of Women every year, you see that our peer countries have actually declared Equal Pay Day. The U.S., the U.K., Australia, France, Germany, they've all declared Equal Pay Day so they can start working on this. And we haven't. And the question is, why? Why do we not want to
so Justin Trudeau has to take that principle that he applied to his cabinet and maybe broaden it out a bit, eh?
Yes, so hopefully, we can declare March 18th Equal Pay Day across Canada.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.